Call of Duty League Miami Major Day 1 has just finished with tons of upsets, amazing gameplay, and beef starting between players and org owners. Winners round 1 today was just pure cinema, and now I'm here to tell you about it. Call of Duty Major 3 is finally here and definitely did not disappoint. What a bunch of matches that happened today. But before we get into the matches, just get into things before the major here. Challengers, a whole controversy between the challengers, what happened earlier today, and this is their venue, which is honestly kind of sad. There's issues going on with players not being able to stay in here, so they'll have to go outside and wait until their matches, and they will get called off that, which is honestly, that's just pretty embarrassing from the league's point. Apparently the menu is just not even good as well, so it's gonna be hard to, I guess, satisfy everybody with that. And huge news with Beans not being able to participate in the major. It's been rumored for that for a couple of days now, and now it's finally Mercy's did finally get announced that he's taking place in this major, or Mercury's, and today he looks pretty solid. But when we get to the Toronto game, when we get there, first we're going to talk about the LA Thieves versus Royal Ravens. And I LA Thieves just looked comfortable. Ravens I feel like they just knew they were going to lose. Big issue here, people want to say a skill gap, and sure, I guess that comes into play with that. But Ravens have looked good this year. Earlier in the year, Royal Ravens, 100% a team that could upset a big team. But LA Thieves, I feel like when they go look into this team and they see HyDra and all of them, I feel like they just lose hope, and that's pretty much what happened today. They have a bunch of good players, but I don't know much about this match because I didn't turn into map the Thieves versus Royal Ravens match. It's just something I feel like they just let Thieves slide off easily and get a winners round 2, heading on to the winners round 2. So Ravens, they're really acceptable because they have a bunch of good players. Was it smart dropping Vivid for Rex? I don't know. I feel like it's just bad timing with that. They wanted to replace him with Kenny, but that fell through, and Kenny joined Rocker, and that whole situation happened, and Teach saying, nah, everything's going fine at the camp, and then just for them to drop Vivid. For me, I feel like they should have stuck Vivid. I really do like him as a player, and I don't think adding Rex into the team would have benefited that and helped them compete and try to win something. So that's pretty much all I have for the LA Thieves section. Let's head into the Miami Heretics versus the Toronto Ultra. Like I said before the match of Beans not having his visa and not being able to compete in this major, which pretty much just ruins Toronto's major, really. They were looking really good online, really strong. JoeDeceives looks like one of the best subs in the game, and just for a situation like this to happen, it's terrible. It does suck for the Toronto camp. But Mercy's, for me, he's a really talented challengers player. He's young, and everyone had Parasite. He had high hopes for him, and I didn't really know much of him this year. I haven't really paid much to challengers, but he's a 100% talented player, and they picked him up because they see something in him. So, and he did not disappoint for me in this match. For his debut, only having 1 day of practice, getting called in last minute, it's pretty impressive from the kid. It's been crazy couple days. Welcome Mercules to the team, and like I said, I hardly know anything about Mercules. Heard of him just a couple of times. Hear him challengers, this and that, but that's pretty much it. And with the match that happened, I wrote that out here. Hacienda, I think that's FaZe match. Heretics. Mercules was actually looking really good in the map 1 hard point. I remember he looked really nervous when the game started. Mercules, he was going off pretty strong in map 1 in hard point. Hacienda, he filling for Beans is such last minute. It's a terrible situation for both sides, but his comms were amazing that game. I think he had the most kills, or tied with the most kills, most time in Hill. He looked honestly really good in that map 1. But Heretics did, I don't know. Toronto won the hard point, so that one's probably because of Mercules. But after that, the S&D Team Heretics, they have, they're really good in S&D, and I feel like if they were playing last year in Modern Warfare 3, they would excel because, I guess the way they play S&D is really smart, especially in this smaller map. I feel like they'll do really good with that. And Heretics looked really good. They're just spraying. It was kind of hard when you only have 1 day of practice with the team, so of course your S&D is not gonna look as sharp. But Heretics got the win with that, made it 1-1, 6-1 in the total S&D score. Here we're going to control, and Merc was looking really good in the control. Toronto looked pretty good in the control, but and then the S&D went down to the last couple seconds here. Heretics were looking pretty good in the start, but then Toronto out of nowhere just got really caught up and were honestly about to win towards the second to last hill, and then the last hill of the game. There's a double nade that it was a little bit in between when the last hill started, but Heretics were making the comeback. They had around 40 seconds on hill right before the last P5, and then boom, Heretics got the job done. And there was drama with Super doing the middle finger towards Mercules, which is kind of crazy, but I can see why. The beef between Heretics and Koi, and Heretics. If you want to say they're a small team, like you can say that because they're not one of the best. I mean, obviously they're one of the best teams in the game. But if you look at the likes of I'm gonna take out Optic because they're not considered after today, no. But Toronto, FaZe, Seattle, Vancouver. Heretics could be up there, and it's a pretty close game, and last calls in that or close game in a hard point. So obviously he's gonna react the type of way. Bean says here, this guy's giving the birds and getting loud to a pickup grind. Ringing Brothers round 1 on land after a crazy comeback, which you can't really disagree on that. It's a close game, crazy comeback to put yourself into win round 2. Against who they're going against. LA Thieves, which is going to be a tough match because LA Thieves looked really good against Carolina. But here's his first pickup. They're not even thinking about who's on the other side, brother. They are just getting hyped with literal double birding or different things. People flip the bird. People show the middle finger off all the time in the games, and of course they don't mean it as disrespect. I feel like it's just heat in the moment, something like in football or soccer, you say something heat of the moment, but you respect the other players, respect the other team and what they do. It's just heat of the moment. Can't really blame them. And then it got so serious where the owner of the org actually said something out, but he mistakenly from the player, he said it was Metals and said it was Super because Super was the one who did it, not Metals. So he's like pretty sure Metals just got caught up in the moment. He's better than that. We're always up for a little trash talk. Let's be real. Going hard, blah, 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 blah. And then Metal's like, what did I do? I just said I didn't want to beat them the way they went out. Beans here. But he's like, we're good. The big shot that you giving us a finger just ticked me off. It was not him. It was not. I don't even think Super Metals look that alike. And then you don't know me if you don't even know my face. And I don't think he responded to that. But yeah, that's pretty much what Team Heretics versus Toronto match. It was a pretty entertaining match. Would have been differently if Beans were in the team. Probably the S&D probably wouldn't have gotten that crazy, even though Heretics do look pretty good in S&D. But now we're gonna head into the FaZe match where it's an interesting match. FaZe got the FaZe have looked honestly not good online. With 3-2. With 3-2 still making it to winners round, they just clinched it, and this match they just didn't look like it. Honestly, they don't look like how they have been playing for the past a couple months now. And do I think they're winning this major? Probably not. I feel like a team like Thieves or Seattle actually might take it this time. I would want Heretics, but you know how that's gonna happen with the team. Here I have Neptune was trying. Neptune. The whole team honestly was playing 0-4, had really clutch moments. Abuzah looked really strong. Neptune is honestly what an amazing player Neptune is. With what's his name? How did I forget his name? Nastie. I don't forget Nastie. He looked really good. Honestly, one of the most underrated players probably in the past couple of years. For me, earlier I didn't really rate him back in Vanguard, and after that he had key moments, but I've never really been that huge of a fan, and people will say of Nastie, but today he looks really good, and Nastie definitely should get his flowers. They are going against Boston Breach, so for me, it's probably an automatic winners round winners round 3, or winners finals basically for Seattle, and see who they go against. Probably most likely LA Thieves, and Hacienda. There was a bunch of map resets, lag, all that. All that Fugue stuff. Neptune Prime, Abuzah was going crazy. Neptune 0-4, and they just won. They beat FaZe 3-1, and you know we'll see how Seattle do at the end of that. After that, Optic was just a whole different story. I don't know what was going on. For me, I've never liked the idea of dropping Kenny. Not, I feel like Kenny was probably the player you should drop, but dropping Pred also was weird, and also just picking up another AR is just honestly weird as well. I don't think Skyz was he was underperforming with Gorillas, and then just for Optic to pick him up was just really shocking to me. And me hearing rumors about that, I was like, no way, that's a real rumor. But they do that, and they've looked terrible since. They lost to they lost to Falcons a couple weeks back, getting them the first win. Now they're going against Falcons again and loses round one. And I wouldn't be surprised if Falcons win. I feel like they have the momentum. Pred wants his revenge. Optic looks terrible, so I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas does their thing here. But I honestly, I didn't write anything. I just said Optic torch. The control in the final round, Optic had little hopes of. They had high hopes of getting hopefully a 0-2 comeback in control, which just did not happen. The S&D, they just absolutely got destroyed 6-0 in S&D. Hardpoint was, I guess you want to say it was close, but Boston just looked better overall in this match. So just had one DMs though, man. But yeah, it was honestly shocking from Optic, and this could ruin their chances of going to champs if they lose against Vegas, or even if they beat Vegas, they're going against FaZe, because I don't think FaZe is going to lose against who's FaZe going against? FaZe are going against Cloud9, and as much as I like a lot of the players in Cloud9, I really like Sib, really like Attach, Mack. I don't think they're gonna do it against FaZe. I wouldn't be. It depends. Anything can happen on land, but yeah. But after that, here we have winners round 2 with Heretics and Thieves, Boston and Surge, Gorillas Toronto, who I have there. I'm gonna say I think Mercury's. It's so weird saying that. I think Mercury's gonna have a really good game against Gorillas and sadly knock out Gorillas, mate. I don't really like much of the players in the team. I really like the Lens before he got dropped, but I like the org as a whole, like the whole General Mates organization. It's a shame how a big org like that is just performing bad. With all those rumors of HyDra and all that, and Scrappy in the beginning. Rocker and Ravens, I could care less who wins. Kenny, because I've always been a huge fan of Kenny, so he can go through. Cloud9 and FaZe, I want Cloud9 to put a performance, but the way FaZe has been looking, also I wouldn't be surprised if Cloud9 take the win. And then Falcons versus Texas, I'm gonna have Vegas with that win there. And then after that, we just go to day 2 in the major. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'm doing something new. I'm just more used to soccer, so Call of Duty, it's a bunch of matches at once. You have to try to align that. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 2.